Well, I'm back with this Sky King from Tone King, the one with the blown fuse and the massive, massive hum and the cruel bear traps clamping into the glass bottles of the Sovtech tubes. So it now has a new matched pair of tongue saw 6L6 GC SDRs, nice plastic bases. The bear traps can do the worst. The tubes won't be hurt. The old Sovtech coin bases can go back with the amp. If the owner has something else which does not have bear traps, it'll be fine for those. The next issue this amp had, of course, was that discolored 5K 5-watt dropping resistor between the screen and the phase inverter. I replaced it, as you can see, and then after it was powered on, I measured the wattage across it, and it's less than a quarter watt. It's really about a tenth of a watt. So I have no idea really what caused that, though there could have just been a big surge in the B plus entirely. We'll get to that a little bit later, but as you can see, it's got a new one in there and everything is fine. I next turned my attention to that hum in ultralinear mode, and I was hoping that maybe just the new 6L6s would fix that. It was slightly reduced with the new 6L6s, but it was still quite prominent. Not quite as, oh my God, is something going to blow up as it was before, but still objectionable. So I looked at the schematic for the amp, and this amp lacked screen grid resistors. And most amps, even those with ultralinear supplies, still have screen grid resistors. So I thought 6L6s, let me temp in some 470 ohms right at the screen and see if it makes any difference. And indeed, the hum did go down. It did not go away, but it went down. So then, as you can see here, I tried some 1Ks, and the hum was pretty much completely eliminated. But you'll notice that the 1Ks in the question are physically very close to the grids, but they have those quick connects on the board, which are like half an inch from the pins. There's not really a way to put the screen grid resistor there without just chewing up the board. I chose not to do that, though I may revisit that. We'll get to that. So what I've done here is I have the 1Ks added at the switch. And I thought, well, this will work. This is reversible, doesn't make any changes to the PCB. It just puts these 1K resistors in line at the switch. This could always be put back to stock. Well, it still has reduced hum, but it has more hum with the resistors there than it did with the resistors at the tube sockets. So I may go to a 2K resistor there rather than a 1K, or it might be better for me to mount the 1Ks at the tube socket and bypass that quick connect thing entirely and just put a fresh length of wire. The quick connect would still be on the board. The original quick connect wires could be returned with the amp. It's just, I shouldn't have to do this to a relatively new $3,000 boutique yada yada amp. It's bad design. It's just really bad design. But it is reduced now. I could probably get it all the way gone with a little more surgery, which should all be unnecessary. Speaking of unnecessary surgery, this amp has a serious problem. It exhibited itself as pin 4, arcing to the ground plane here. It started by some fresh engineer just out of electrical school who is trained how to design cell phones and keyboards and Blu-ray players and all the other PCBs in the world, and then he was asked to lay out a PCB for a tube amp. That probably explains why the little cathode bypass cap is so close to the big 10-watt hot resistors in the cathode on this amp. That's what blew up in the previous model I had. But this is a ground plane, and it's poured all around this rectifier tube. Anyone who actually has experience with tube amps would know that you never want ground around a rectifier tube because it can arc, and there's no benefit to it. You don't need to shield a rectifier. Duh. Now this leaves me with a problem because this is a ground pour all around, and there's a trace from 4 to this quick connect and from 6 to this quick connect, and these caps are here. I can't go in here and just do a big circle around to isolate all this area from ground, and I can't then do like a pie wedge thing to give each one its little zone. So I can't really fix this long term. What I can do is get in here and cut around 4 and 6, which are kind of have the most current potential, especially at startup, and then seal the board there. So I'm going to have to do an imperfect fix. Seriously, if you're designing a PCB for a tube amp, you don't need to shield the power tubes. You don't need to shield the rectifier tube. There's no benefit, and all it can do is exactly this. Now, this is mild arcing. We're catching it before it gets worse, but it would have gotten worse and worse and worse until the board would have caught on fire. Now, that's probably why it blew the mains fuse when it came in. That's probably that big surge that it would experience from going to a dead short to back on again is probably what damaged that 5-watt 5K dropping resistor between the phase inverter and the screen. And it might have damaged the rectifier tube, contributing to that hum. We're going to find out after I fix this. So much fun in a brand new $3,000 amp. Okay, all my Dremel bits that I had here would have been overkill for it. So I used a very small drill bit and just did a ring around each. And I couldn't do all the way around. I don't think that's necessary. Here's where the gap was smallest and the surge would be the strongest. It's still not ideal, but we deal in the possible. I don't have a time machine to go back and design this entire amp better. But at this point, it's sounding much better. It has a new rectifier tube. I think that was contributing to the hum. There's still a little bit, but I'll let you hear it. All right, so there's no hum at all in pentode mode. If we go to ultralinear, there's a very slight hum. It sounds pretty good other than that. I'm still not satisfied, so that's with the 1Ks. I think I'm gonna get some 2Ks in there and see if I can crack the nut entirely. But I don't have 2Ks of the suitable wattage, so I'm gonna order those. The amp, it shouldn't need any of this. It should not need any of this subsequent work on a brand new $3,000 amp. But we're, in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's change those resistors one more time, increase them to 2K for the screen grids, and see if the noise can finally be banished. It's so hard to teach this thing the words.